My name is Larry Wootten. Some of you know me fairly well, but I'm going to give you a little history of who I am and why I am who I am. I was born in Riverside, California, a few years ago, but my first memories was not in California. My first memories was a little house on a hill with cows and chickens and guineas, and we lived like several miles from the nearest town, which was Stratford, Oklahoma. My parents moved back there. I guess you gathered that. I was still a baby, and I lived there for several years. And when I was little, I loved to sing. And my mom said people would ask me to sing for them. And I was a kind of a noisy kid too. If you played with anything, a boy plays with anything, he's gonna make noises, it's gotta have engine noises and airplane noises and stuff like that. And I was kind of a noisy kid. My dad served in the service in the last part of the European campaign. And while he was gone, my mom and the boys, was 2 boys, we moved in with my grandfather. My grandfather was Grandpa Endicott. And while he was overseas, we moved in while he was there. And then after he returned, I had another brother in 1947. So I was older than that, And most of the Wootten family that moved from Oklahoma moved into California, and so Dad and us all moved back to California. We lived in this general area, Ontario. Chino. My dad worked for 3 brothers that farmed and had quite a bit of land here in Southern California. My dad worked for them and doing farming work, plowing, harvesting, stuff like that. Us boys, we really loved it because we could get out, it was still open country. We loved to go out in the fields or into the hay barns. We was always playing around, having a great time. It's hard to look back now. Hard to look now and think of back then, It's nothing like that anymore. I can't even find farming ground hardly at all today. My oldest brother and I, we would irrigate. In the summertime, that would make us money for our clothes in the winter when we'd go back to school. So Mom was kind of us boys. She was the one that brought us to church and taught us. And when she was young, when we were young, she would read to us. We learned all about those great heroes in the Old Testament and about Jesus. I remember when I got saved, I was still pretty young. I don't really know exactly what my age was, but it was in a little storefront church, a little missionary Baptist storefront church that I was saved in. The little church was sitting real close to the railroad tracks, so I remember that for the trains. I couldn't tell you where it's at now, but I believe the church actually ended up in Pomona. It had their own building then. Mom and us three boys we'd sing in church once in a while. So my oldest brother, my youngest brother wasn't too interested in doing too much singing, but I still loved to do it. But it was hard for me to do it solo, you know. I don't mind doing it with people, and that's like speaking, it's hard to do. Growing up, I spent my share as a teenager going up to the altar. I never really did anything that I would call bad, but it was just things that I thought Jesus wouldn't approve of. So. I wouldn't say that my young adult life was very spiritual, or I went around doing a lot, but there came a time that being single, I decided, well, I felt like I needed to find a mate, someone that would really love me and I could love. And I was praying to the Lord that He would send someone my way. And He did it in a very unique way. I had a friend, a co-worker, and he told me he had a sister, she was living in Ohio, that he thought I should write her. Okay, why not, you know? So I wrote her, and she wrote me back, and we started a little writing back and forth for a little bit, and I found out she was coming to California to visit her parents and her brother and family, and I got to meet her at her brother's house. Kind of caught her off guard, I think, but then I met her and her 3 children. She had 3 children. She had 2 girls and a boy. And we went out to dinner a few times with her brother and wife, and I really thought, well, I really like this lady, you know. She's from Ohio. And I'd already planned this trip with my motorcycle, and I had planned it for several months. So I decided, well, I'll just go ahead and take the trip. But while I was thinking, after I took off, I wondered, well, how's this going to work out when I come back and she's already gone back home. Okay, Lord. Well, I got home from the trip, and guess what? She found a job in California, in Upland, and was moving back. So I got to meet her, and I even took her out to a concert. And then she got a house in Ontario, so she didn't have much furniture. Her family gave her a few pieces of furniture while she's waiting for hers to come back to get there from Ohio. So I spent most evenings with her. We'd put the kids to bed, and we'd talk and learn about each other. And wasn't very short. I proposed, and she accepted, and we got married. I don't know if you know the place now, it's something else, but years ago it was called the Chapel in the Wildwood, right up on the end of Euclid. And that's where we were married. And we wanted the kids to be a part of that. So the youngest was Joyce, and she was our flower girl, and the 2 other children were the candle lighters. So they were a part of that, and that's the way we wanted to do it. Within a year, we found out that we were going to have a child, and we moved into a new house. We bought a house in Upland and moved in, and our little Karen came to live in that house, and that was her home. I finally sold and moved, but that was her home, and that was, the kids really remembered it well. The three oldest children's names were Tamara and Stephen and Joyce. I adopted them. They became, we completed the family when I adopted them. So we did a lot of nice things together, and we liked to motorcycle ride.
Harley.
Yeah, he'd ride behind and we'd go all over the place. We had a lot of fun. Went to a lot of the Western national parks and looked at all the beautiful country around. But in 2003, she started having physical problems. We ended up in the ER, and they did x-rays and found a lump in her colon, and it was cancer. She went through all the therapies, the treatments, radiation and chemo, and was a rough time for us, and we just prayed for the Lord's healing and the direction we should go with it. My lovely little wife, Carolyn, she was the faithful one. I mean, she loved the Lord, and we tried everything we could to, in the family, to keep us in the church and doing things together. She started feeling better, and we decided, when we first got married, we looked for a church that we really wanted the kids to enjoy and like the children's department and all that. And we ended up in the Upland First Church of the Nazarene. And my wife actually, before she moved to Ohio, she was attending that church as a teenager. She attended that church. And so that's where we went, raised our kids. She started feeling better, and we decided the church group was getting together, and they wanted to go on a cruise together. So several of us in the Upland Church got together, and we went on a cruise to Alaska. And she started feeling not well again. So I decided I would retire. And I retired in 2005. And to take time to be with her. And unfortunately, she passed away a couple of months later after that happened. It hasn't stopped me from loving the Lord. I have to question sometimes why, but I don't blame the Lord for it. It's just, we live in this kind of a world where things happen. And during the time just before she passed away, we started attending here at the Ontario Nazarene Church. And, we got such wonderful support from both Upland and Ontario during this real difficult time for us. Though we had to go through, this change, this trial, my love was still strong for the Lord. And He allows me to sing His praises. thanksgiving and blessings, and times of just needing the Lord. I have this song that I sang after Carolyn passed away. Was the first song I sang after that was my heart. It's what I felt and what was going on in my life. So I think I'll sing that for you now.